So the deck I mostly played in Masters this season was Fire King, although this is definitely the least common variant of Fire King you'll see, because there's no Snake Eyes cards, there's no Dirac cards, which those are by far the two most popular ways to play Fire King right now, Snake Eyes and Dirac. And it's not even pure because I've added like 3 random cards in here that you clearly see here. So like I think the only people playing specifically branded Fire King is like me and the guy who I stole this deck list off of on Master Duel. So, yeah, no spoilers. I didn't come up with this myself. I am not nowhere near that creative. Okay, I definitely stole this and just decided to try it out. So yeah, if you're wondering what is the point of Brand Infusion in Fire King, like what is the synergy here playing Brand Infusion in a link-based deck? Okay, so number one, like the main purpose of Brand Infusion is you are going to Brand Infusion for Rinbrum 90% of the time. In fact, I don't think I Brand Infusion for any other Brand Infusion monster except for Rinbrum, because Rinbrum lets you dump Sacred Fire King Garunix into the grave. And this is obviously, Garunix is key for Fire King. That you need access to Garunix to actually play with Fire King. So what's good about that is, another way to add Garunix, which is very important into hand traps specifically, because Brand Infusion lets you beat the common weaknesses or the common hand traps that pure Fire King would be weak to. Okay, like the main problem with pure Fire King a lot of times is that if you get ashed or trolled, sometimes you just don't get access to Garunix, and if you don't have access to Garunix, then you don't really have a Fire King deck, right? So like for example, if you summon something like a Ponyx or an Alcanix, and then you like search a Ponyx or you search a Fire King Island, and then you get trolled, then you don't have access to Garunix, because then you can't activate Fire King Island to pop a card to add Garunix to hand, so that sucks. Also, it even more commonly is when you activate Fire King Island and your Fire King Island gets ashed, and then you can't add the Garunix to hand. And either of those scenarios are fairly common in a format where Droll is being played in pretty much every deck, and Ash is obviously in every deck as well. So a lot of times you just didn't get access to Garunix, so Brand Infusion just basically guarantees you a way to dump Garunix into the graveyard so that you can, access your Fire King engine. And it beats Ash and it beats Droll in the sense that if you open Brand Infusion and you activate Brand Infusion, if your opponent has Ash, they're just gonna Ash the Brand Infusion. Like there's ain't no way people are going to not Ash a first action Brand Infusion, even if they see it's a 40-card deck. So yeah, the Brand Infusion just baits out the Ash so that your Fire King Island actually resolves. Or, if they have Droll instead of Ash, then Brand Infusion already dumped the Garunix to the graveyard, so even if they Droll you, that's fine, you still have access to the Garunix. And, yeah, that's like the main purpose. It also adds a decent amount of interruption. You might think that activating Brand Infusion makes your end board worse, because you can't do your Link monsters, so you can't go into like a Peruvian Princess, for example. But actually, the Brand Infusion into Rinbrum itself adds a ton of interruption, because Fire King Pure, like without the Snake Eyes cards, doesn't put up that big of a board in the first place. So even if you do go through the Link monsters, the Peruvian Princess, gets you like 1 extra pop. It's whatever. But if you go Brand Infusion into Rinbrum itself is an interruption against any extra deck monster. So like it negates an extra deck monster and bounces the card back to hand. So that's like 1.5 to like 2 forms of interruption, depending on how you want to count that. But also it has a grave effect. And what's great about Fire King is that Fire King, when you have Fire King Centur-Ion on the field, you're going to Quick Exceed into a Hyung on your opponent's turn. When you Quick Exceed into Hyung, it nukes the field, and then because it nukes the field, it destroys the Rinbrum, and the Rinbrum goes to the graveyard. And then, when the Rinbrum is in the graveyard, you have the Fallen of Albaz in the graveyard still. You can actually use Rinbrum to special summon back the Fallen of Albaz on your opponent's turn, and then the Fallen of Albaz can fuse with your opponent's monster, and then you can make a Mirror Jade on your opponent's turn, and then Mirror Jade is another banish. So like the Rinbrum itself kind of gets you like, provided you have Fire King Engine alongside with the Brand Infusion, the Rinbrum gets you 3 interruptions. 3 additional interruptions on your end board, 3 additional forms of monster removal, which is actually more than you can normally get off of just Link plays. So yes, even though it cuts you off of Links, having the Rinbrum access actually adds more interruptions to a typical pure Fire King end board. And another thing about Rinbrim is that Rinbrim is just really good playing into boards. Like the specifically this, honestly, its effect is kind of better going. I found it kind of better going second than going first, honestly, because going first a lot of times I would have to nuke my field before I even get to use Rinbrim's effect, because I would prefer preventing my opponent from making an extra deck monster in the first place instead of just waiting for it to summon and then trying to negate it. But going second, my opponent's always going to have like some kind of extra deck monster on the board, right? And then you go Brand Fusion into Rinbrim. The Rinbrim basically baits out 2 interruptions then, because it can negate one of your opponent's interruptions on their board, and then it bounces back another card. So like they have to deal with the Rinbrim itself before even touching your Fire King plays. Otherwise, the Rinbrim is going to like wreck through their board. Like I broke a lot of boards with just thanks to the help of Rinbrim. So this card's actually, so Brand Fusion is actually really nice for going second as well. And yeah, additional stuff. The additional Brand Fusions are for like Albion, Mirror Jade, and Lubellion are basically there to fuse on your opponent's turn with Fallen Velbass. This way you can fuse with any light, dark, or extra deck monster, and then you can still make a Mirror Jade with the Fallen Velbass while the Rinbrim's in graveyard, and the Titaniclad. So I've never got to do this, but theoretically Titaniclad is an out to Liger Dancer. So we look at Liger Dancer. Liger Dancer has 3,800 attack, right? If you brand Fusion for Titaniclad, you send Nibiru plus Fallen Velbass. And Nibiru plus Fallen Velbass is 15 stars. Therefore, the 15 stars gives Titaniclad an extra 1,500 attack. So it makes Titaniclad have 4k attack. And then after this card is Fusion Summon, it's unaffected by activated effects of any special summon monster from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. So they can't Raigeki the Titaniclad. So one Brand Fusion lets you make a 4k Titaniclad that can't be Raigeki, which allows you to run over a Liger Dancer. I've never done that because this deck, frankly, it has other ways to out Liger Dancer that doesn't involve Brand Fusion, so I never needed this. So you could probably, you honestly probably don't need to include this, but Pure Fire King does have some extra space in the extra deck. That's why I could even fit a Brand Fusion package in here in the first place. But yeah, I will say is that the one thing about Brand Fusion, the one thing that's maybe not ideal, besides the fact that you have to play a Fallen Velbass, this is a brick, obviously, even though I hard drawing this low-key kind of broken in simplified game states, but obviously you're not depending on that or anything. That's not something you factor into why you want to play Fallen Velbass. But Brand Fusion itself is not a Fire King starter. That is the main issue. If you draw Brand Fusion plus with no other Fire King cards, you technically still don't have Fire King engine, because all you're doing is dumping a Fire King Garunix, which if you don't have another Fire King card, you don't have nothing to trigger the Garunix. Now going second, that's fine, because going second, you have more fire monsters, and you can normal summon, if you need be, you can even normal summon an Ash and just crash your stuff into your opponent's monsters. Even if you get hand trapped, you can still crash, and you have the Garunix in graveyard, and then you can continue playing from there. But going first, if you just open Brand Fusion by itself, it's not really that great. You can get a Rinbrim, or you can make a Mirror Jade pass, which is it's kind of not sufficient, and that's kind of a problem with Fire King in general, is that Fire King just if you're not playing the Snake Eyes cards, Fire King just does not put up, or I guess if you're not playing the Snake Eyes cards, and if you're not playing the Jirac cards, Fire King doesn't really put up that big of an end board. Most of my time, first of all, if I get hand trapped once, you're probably not going to be able to do your link plays, because the only time you ever have enough bodies to even go into Promethean Princess turn 1 is, for example, your Alcanex resolves, or you open Fire King Island plus Kirin plus another Fire King monster. Okay, then you might have enough bodies. But if you get hand trapped on the Alcanex, or if you just normal summon Onyx as your starter, or Fire King Sanctuary or Fire King Island as your starter, they don't get you enough bodies to even let you go into Promethean Princess. A lot of the time, your end board is going to be Garunix plus Garunix on board with a Fire King Sanctuary, which that's just one board nuke. It's fine because it plays through hand traps. It doesn't play into Mulcharmies or Maxi that badly, but it's not a lot. Okay, so, and especially if you don't open the Brand Fusion along with that setup, then Your end board's pretty weak. Like I found like honestly, I found like this deck was basically as good going second as it was going first, because going second, your Fire King cards actually pop cards and play into boards, and generate advantage that way. And your opponent generally has attack position monsters that you can crash into to trigger your Fire King effects, like from destruction. But going first, like their end board is incredibly mid at best a lot of times. So yeah, that was one issue I had. I personally don't think this is like a tier 1 deck or even close to be honest. I think this is like, maybe you can consider this like a lower tier 3-ish, like high rogue deck. If that, like I don't think this deck is particularly very good in the format. Except like there's only like one thing that I will say that this deck is really good for in this format, is that it's very good against the Mitsurugi card. So Mitsurugi cards, the main thing people do with Mitsurugi cards is just set up a Murakumo with prayers to like nuke your board, and nuke your board with Murakumo. Which, if you're playing Fire King, you don't give a shit if they nuke your monsters, okay? Like, destroy my Fire King monsters, okay, thank you. I was gonna do that anyways. Thank you for saving me the trouble. So this deck plays very good into the Mitsurugi cards. So if you play against Mitsurugi decks, this has a good matchup against those. This deck has a terrible matchup versus Malice, which, thank the Lord, should be less common after the ban list. But as you can see, I'm playing 3 Lancia right here because, going second into Malice is absolutely dreadful if you don't have Lancia or Dominance Impulse. Like, you literally can't beat a single White Binder. So, yeah, I probably would maybe not play Artifact Lancia in the future, but definitely for this month, when Malice is still legal at its current state, yeah, I needed these fucking Lancias. Also good against Called By, but like it's not that really relevant anymore because Called By is at 1. So like I think I Lancia'd 1 Called By the entire month. So yeah, and I guess we can go over the deck list now. So for the engine, because this is pure Fire King, no Snake Eyes, no Jirac cards. We're maxing out on Ponyx and Alcanics because they just get you to your Fire King Sanctuary or get you to Ponyx. 1 Arvata, 1 Fallen of Valbas, 1 OG Garunix. I don't mind drawing this card because I want fire cards to pop, basically. So like I would prefer popping a Garunix over normal summoning a hand trap, turning it into Almirage to pop it that way. That's not great, but yeah, it's triple Sacred Fire King Garunix, triple Kieran, double Brand Fusion, 2 Fire King Island, and 3 Sanctuary. Fire King Island, it's the worst starter, but this deck lacks consistency, especially in Master Duel, because like in the TCG they still have 3 Extravagance and they still have like a Pot of Prosperity at 1, so they have like 4 extra consistency cards they can play in their pure Fire King decks. In Master Duel, like number 1, I'm playing Random Fusion, so I can't play Pot of Extravagance. So like, I really need to see a Fire King starter. So like, Sanctuary, Fire King Island, Alcanics, and Ponyx, they're the main starters. Even though Fire King Island sucks as the worst one, like I would rather open Fire King Island than like open nothing. So that's why I'm still playing 2. I consider bumping up to 3 because if you open extra copies, you can actually just pitch them for discards with Fallen of Albaz when you fuse on your opponent's turn. I did that a few times. Nobody sees that coming, by the way. Like, nobody sees the fact they see that you're playing a Fire King deck, and then they suddenly forget that Rimrim has an effect in Graveyard because they're not like thinking of the branded stuff. But yeah, the one double Fire King Skyburn, and like that's the main Fire King engine. The rest is just standard like hand traps for the most part, and like Called By, Cross Out, triple Impulse because this is an Impulse deck, and surprisingly enough, the Impulse does not conflict with your branded cards that much. The only thing Impulse conflicts with is Lubellion. So obviously, if you Impulse from hand, don't try to do a Lubellion play. Just try going straight into Mirror Jade or Albion if you can. And Maxis, Ash Blossom, so on and so forth. Nibiru is for the branded fusion. It's not really a cross-out target because you don't really care about Nib that much in this deck. Yeah, you don't even play into Nib that often, but it's for so you can make your Titanic Lad have 4k attack with the branded fusion. That's why you play the Nibiru. And then double Droll and the triple Lancia, which can be swapped out once Malice goes out in meta. And yeah, the extra deck, so 5 Brand Infusions, Titaniclad, Albion, Mirror Jade, Lubellion, Rinbrum, 1 Dingirsu. Dingirsu is another way to beat Liger Dancer. So like this deck has like 20 different ways to beat Liger Dancer, so it's generally not that much of an issue. But yeah, you can make a Dingirsu with 2 level 8s, and then the Liger Dancer can't get your field anymore. And then all you need is a Fire King Garunix. Garunix sending or destroying at a Cure from deck gives the Garunix have 3900 attack, which makes it 100 attack bigger than the Liger Dancer. So just basically resolving Garunix and having it stay on the field already gives you a monster that's big enough to out Liger Dancer, provided you have protection with the Dingirsu. Or if they preemptively use the Liger Dancer, then you have other methods. But yeah, the 1 Hyang, the 1 Typhon, 1 Almirage, mainly to turn hand traps into fire monsters, but that's the only thing I've used Almirage for, honestly. Sunlight Wolf, Hita, SP, Promethean Princess, and then Zealantis plus Raging Phoenix, which normally it's not necessary in Pure Fire King, because Pure Fire King like doesn't a lot of times have the bodies to facilitate a Zealantis ODK all the time, but more so than Zealantis. I don't think I Zealantis ODK'd once while playing this deck, but I use Raging Phoenix to out Liger Dancer like a couple times, because Raging Phoenix is another way to out Liger Dancer. So you basically you have a Phoenix, then you have any other fire monster. You make the Phoenix is smaller than the Liger Dancer, obviously, while it's on the field. So you crash the Raging Phoenix into the Liger Dancer, then you crash a fire monster into the Liger Dancer, and then the Raging Phoenix will trigger in the damage step to come back, and then gain the attack points of the monster that you just crashed. And then it'll be big enough to attack over the Liger Dancer. So yeah, that's like a third way to beat the Liger Dancer. But a lot of times, like, you run enough hand traps to where sometimes they don't even get to Liger Dancer. But yeah, Lunalight was not really a hard matchup. I didn't play that many, but I also don't even think I lost to them, like, if at all, at this month. So yeah, anyways, if my explanations weren't clear, hopefully the replays will make how this deck works a bit more clear too. But yeah, let's get to those. Okay, so this is a duel that basically just shows most of the key interactions that are important with this deck. So we're going second, and our opponent goes prayers in the standby phase, which is like I know we're starting off great here. Okay, we're starting off with prayers in the standby phase to immediately get drolled. I know we're dealing with the best opponents here, but my opponent is playing Orcust, so like honestly, why the fuck did this droll actually ends up not even doing anything because they're playing fucking Orcust. Okay, so awesome. Anyways, was that bait to get a droll out of my hand? I don't know, but clearly they're doing the whole Orcust stuff while under droll because, you know, that's Orcust. So they can't do their Mitsurugi stuff, but as I mentioned before, the Mitsurugi stuff is not really that important for this matchup anyways, because it's fucking Fire Kings and I don't care about that stuff. But they're doing the Orcust stuff, which I do care a bit more about. And yeah, they're going to go Enlil Girsu, and then they're going to add back the Harper. So nice. They have the Orcust setup without the IP. So that's at least kind of decent through a droll. And then they're going to use the Galatea Eye, which I'm going to maxi, and then they're going to maxi. So yeah, nice. We're just dealing with dueling maxis and a hard draw at the brand. I hard draw the Brand Infusion. Okay, you're gonna see this Brand Infusion go crazy because we're gonna go Brand Infusion, dump Garunix, dump Fallen Albast. Every time I Brand Infusion for dumping Garunix, I always want to see the look on my opponent's faces. They're gonna be like, first of all, I imagine it's gonna be a relief because they're like, oh shit, and then they just see me make Rinbrum. They're like, oh, so this isn't actually a branded deck. Okay, awesome. Now you can't do Link Monster with Fire King. But anyways, watch this Rinbrum. So first I'm gonna normal summon Fire King. Alcanix, and I'm gonna Skyburn to pop the Babble, which is gonna prompt them to use all of their effects first, and then they're going to use England Girsu, which I'm gonna negate with Rinbrum, and then they're going to use Orcust Nightmare, and they're gonna use Symbol Skeleton to revive the Dingirsu, and this is not gonna work out the way they think it's gonna. This is not gonna work out in a way that's good for my opponent. So the Dingirsu is gonna summon back, and then I get a draw, and then they're going to dump the World Wand, and then I get the Rinbrum, negate the Inlagirsu, and then bounce the Dingirsu. So literally, this one brand fusion just ate up every Orcust interaction my opponent had. And like that, it's not uncommon for the Rinbrum to do that, because the Rinbrum is like just insanely crack playing into boards like that. And then I pop the Arvada, and then here I misplay a bit because I was like, I forgot that you know, Brand Fusion has a restriction. You cannot link summon the turn you activate this, obviously. So I actually can't OTK them with this setup, which is as sad as it is. But yeah, I'm gonna have to give my opponent a bunch of draws under Max C, but they're gonna go World Wand. I shouldn't have activated Arvada. Like, there's no point activating the Arvada, or actually no, there's no point activating the Alcanix, because the Alcanix. So the Arvada summons back, the Garunix summons back, and then the Alcanix summons the Garunix in defense mode, which this does not contribute anything to. This does not contribute anything because it doesn't add damage. It has to summon in defense, and I just give my opponent an extra draw for no reason. Don't know why I did that. And then Garunix is gonna pop the Kirin, and the Kirin is gonna summon back the Arvada, and then it's gonna pop the World Wand. And I'm like, shit, there's no way I can OTK my opponent. So what I should have done is I should have not summoned the fucking Garunix. I just should have summoned the Ponix from my hand right there. Because the Ponix, if I summon the Ponix from hand, summon the Ponix from hand, and also summon the Alcanix in attack mode. If I summon the Alcanix in attack mode, it can actually crash with the Galatea Eye. Then I would have gotten some more damage. I might have actually been able to do something. Maybe even threaten an OTK. But because I summoned the Alcanix in defense, that was a big issue. And I have to also summon this Ponix from hand because I need to get access to Fire King Island and Fire King Sanctuary. But currently my field is full, so I gotta do something really, really stupid. So I'm gonna attack my Arvada, crash my Arvada, so I can summon my Ponix from hand. That way I can search the Sanctuary. I give my opponent like 3 extra draws that I shouldn't have. And then I attack for not even lethal damage. And like, this is obviously like kind of shit. So yeah, I'm gonna activate Fire King Sanctuary, and then I'm gonna pass on this board. So this board is it is the full Fire King branded board, but my opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards in hand. Okay, we have Ash, we have Kirin, we have Rinbrum, we have 2 level 8s, and we have the Sanctuary. But my opponent has 10 cards in hand. Granted, they went through all their Orcust stuff, so they're actually. It's hard for them to get back their Orcust stuff because I assuming they only played 1 Symbol Skeleton, and their Symbol Skeleton is currently banished. Their Galatea is also out of rotation, so they have to do some stuff to actually get it back. Because the Inlagirsu is also in the graveyard as well. But they do have Mitsurugi cards, but I don't really care about the Mitsurugi cards, as mentioned. So I'm gonna Saji, I'm gonna Ash, which I have no. I just threw this Ash out there. I was like, there's no way this Ash is gonna ever resolve, because they have a fucking 10 card hand. So yeah, as I suspected, the Ash gets crossed out it. So yeah, then they can do the Mitsurugi stuff, and then I'm actually not worried at all. So they're going to go Mitsurugi Ritual into dump Kusanagi plus Nitro Serpent, summon the Habakiri from hand, and then summons those 2 back, and then they can add back summons back the Nitro Serpent, add back the Ritual. Then they're going to Ritual for Murakumo, and then it's going to trigger the Habakiri to summon back. And here, they're going to nuke my field. And I'm going to, first off, activate Skyburning Graveyard to protect my Fire King monsters, just so I can keep 2 level 8s on board. The Rimum dies, which is like, whatever. It's better engraved anyways. But yeah, now after they summon the Habakiri, I'm going to trigger Sanctuary. They're going to trigger Murakumo, which... fortunately, I'm playing Fire King, so I don't mind discarding my Fire King monster, so I discard the Alcanix. Going to Hyang, and then Hyang nukes the board, and they're going to tribute their Murakumo first, and then to get it off the field so that it doesn't get blown up, and then the Murakumo comes back, and they add another Prayers, which is like, cool, you can keep nuking my board, I don't really care about that, as long as you don't have Orcust stuff, which they're going to normal summon Gearsuit, and Gearsuit sending a Heart Pourer. And then they don't summon out Symbol Skeleton, which makes me think that they only run 1 Symbol Skeleton, so now they don't actually have Orcust in rotation. Instead, they're going to go into Closed Moon. They're going to go Moon of the Closed Heaven, which here, this is just too good of an opportunity. I'm going to use Rinbrum to go into Fallen Valbast, and then summon back Fallen Valbast. So I could have, if I had more time, I would have used the Fire King Arvada first. I would have used Arvada, pop the Hyang. The Hyang gets popped. I summon back my Garunix. I pop a Kirin, then I Kirin back the Arvada. Then I would have Arvada, and then I summon back the Ponix to search a Skyburn, so that I have the Skyburn to discard for the Fallen Valbast. I was low on timer. I didn't have time to do all that. Like, ain't nobody got time for that, so I had to do this directly. So we're just gonna go Fallen Valbast, summon it with the Rimrum directly, discard the Kirin, and then make a Mirror Jade with the Moon of the Closed Heaven. And then they can discard, add the Babel back to hand, but they don't really have anything in grave that's good, that's worth using with the Babel. So yeah, they're gonna end up discarding a card for turn and setting the prayers. And they're gonna draw face the prayers, which is like cool. Anyways, summon back the Murakumo, and then they're gonna use Murakumo's effect, and I'm gonna use Mirror Jade, and I drew a Garunix, so I can just discard that for free off of the Mitsurugi, Murakumo, whatever. And then banishes the Murakumo, pops my field. Thank you for popping my field for me, okay? Like, I was gonna pop my Garunix anyways with Fire King Island, but thank you for doing it for me. And now I get to just summon back two monsters. They can maxi me again and use Hardport, does not really matter. Again, you don't have any more Simple Skeletons in rotation. And I go Garunix, they're gonna go Girsu, and I'm gonna go Kirin, Pop, they're gonna realize that they're at 3200 and they're gonna lose. So yeah, that's that showed like all the key interactions. That showed Brand Fusion as both a board breaker and as an end board piece with the Fallen Valbast. That showed this deck's strength into Mitsurugi, and it showed that I fucking suck at this game and can't remember my own card effects. But you know that's the less important part of that replay. Right, so here's another game. Here we're going second versus Seto Kaiba himself, because they're going to Wishes, discard Crimson, or discard Synchro Rumble. You know when you're playing against a Blue Eyes player with Synchro Rumble in their deck, like you know like shit's about to go down if you don't have a real hand trap. And unfortunately, I don't have a real hand trap versus Blue Eyes. I have Dominus Impulse and I have Artifact Lancia. Which, spoilers, I'm not going to use this Artifact Lancia because it doesn't do jack shit versus Blue Eyes. So yeah, all I'm thinking now is Spirit Dragon is very annoying, so I have to use Dominus Impulse on the Maiden of White so that they don't get access to Spirit Dragon. But yeah, they're going to go for a greedy line, Roar of the Blue Eyes before summoning back the Maiden of White. Then they're going to go into Seals, and then they're going to use True Light to special summon back the Blue Eyes to special summon at the Maiden. I'm like, okay, that's... I'm pretty sure you could have made a Maiden... I'm pretty sure you could have made a Spirit Dragon there through an Impulse, but thank you for playing into it. And now they're going to send a second Blue Eyes to the graveyard, which is like, whatever, and then they're going to set, and then... yeah. But pass back to me, and we get Max Seed. So isn't that lovely? We've gotten Max Seed... Literally, I think so far, I've gotten of the replays I've showed you, I've gotten Max Seed every single turn. It's just fantastic, right? So we're gonna lead with Brand Fusion, and my opponent plays this terribly, by the way. We're gonna summon Rinbrim, which Rinbrim checks the Seals, but then they're going to hello. Like, I was expecting to play around the Drill Beam, but excuse me. Now, this is kind of mid, because I have no dragons, and I have no dragons, and I have no lights in my deck. So, this Imperial Dragon is just going to negate my Rinbrim, which is like, okay, you know what? Cool, you can have it. Negate my Rinbrim, okay? And then, I normal summon Alcanix, which gets Imperm, which is like, thankfully, I hard drew Fire King Island, so that actually is fine. We go activate Fire King Island, pop the Alcanix. Thankfully, they don't also have Ash. Add the Arvada to the hand, then I'm going to trigger Alcanix plus Garunix summons back, and then I'm going to use Garunix effect, and they're going to Seals bounce now. So what they should have done is they should have Seals bounced to Fire King Island. Like, they shouldn't have let me got that far. Well, they wanted to be greedy, and they wanted to get maxi draws. So because they wanted to get maxi draws, the Seals ends up not doing anything. Okay, like look at what the Seals did. Okay, they're going to Seals bounce back the Garunix to my hand. Why the Garunix? Why that Garunix? And why not the other Garunix or the Rinbrim? Why bounce the one Garunix that can special summon itself for free from hand anyways? But I'm going to pitch the Kieran, use Kieran's effect. That's going to force out the True Light, because the True Light's just going to get popped. So they're going to set a Majesty, and I'm going to special Onyx as well. So like we just got all the chain links here. My opponent again just draws like 5 cards for free because Maxi is very balanced. Then the Arvada the Kieran summons the Arvada. I pop the True Light. The Seal summons the Blue-Eyes. By the way, do you want to count how many Blue-Eyes are in their deck? Yeah, we're playing against a triple Blue-Eyes Andy with Imperial Dragon in their deck. Trust me, this ain't the end of it. It gets better. So, yeah, I'm going to Ponyx, I'm going to search a Skyburn, and the True Light is going to nuke their field. And then I'm going to attack with Ponyx and Arvada and Rimbrum. And then I'm going to Fire King Skyburn, pop the Majesty. So this was actually a misplay. This is a misplay because I should have Fire King Skyburn pop the Mausoleum and then let them keep the Majesty. Why? Because Skyburn has an engrave effect, which everyone forgets, me included in this scenario, because Fire King Skyburn can protect my Fire King cards from destruction. So I already have an out to the Majesty as after I use the Skyburn. So there's no reason for me to also pop the Majesty. You should have just popped the Mausoleum of Light right there. Like there's no point of me doing that. Of popping the Majesty. So yeah, end phase, pass it back to them. So the Blue Eyes versus Fire King matchup it's kind of weird. Like it's kind of a 50-50, but usually the games where one side wins is like a complete blowout. Like either my opponent gets access to Drill Beam and then Drill Beam checks my Fire King out and I can't do anything for the rest of the game, or I establish my Fire King cards and then my opponent cannot establish a monster on the field, and then they without a monster, the Blue Eyes can't do anything. So it's usually like a blowout one way or the other. So it's cool that at least here we got an actual real game between the two decks. But speaking of Drill Beam, they summoned the Effort Barrel, so I have to negate the Effort Barrel because I can't let them get Drill Beam access. I pop the Garunix, and then I trigger the Garunix in my hand, and then they're going to Maxi me. So yeah, again, if you're counting, that's 4 for 4. I've gotten Maxied like 4 turns in a row, or some stupid shit like that. I've played 99% of my games so far under Maxi, and I'm going to pop the Mausoleum now, and then I'm going to use Volcanics, which just gets ashed, which is like cool. That's fine. So this is a misplay. I should have popped the Effort Barrel because I was thinking, oh, cool, if they make Spirit, I have Rimbrum. Okay, so then they're going to go into Spirit, okay? And then they're going to go Spirit, and then I'm going to try to negate with Rimbrum. And then I realized that the fucking Imperial Dragon negate is not until the end of the turn. It is a permanent negate. So that's awesome. My bad. I misplayed around the Imperial Dragons. So whoopsie, I got fucking destroyed by the Imperial Dragon, and now they have access to their full Blue Eyes engine again. So, yeah, that kind of sucks. And they add a Veiler, and they're going to use, this is a wild play, by the way. This is wild, okay? They're going to Wishes, equip Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon to the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Then they're going to activate Primite Fusion, because yeah, they're also playing Primite Fusion. And then they're going to Primite Fusion to make Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. What the hell? Has anybody seen Primite Fusion make... Has anybody seen somebody make Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon with a fucking Primite Fusion? Like, I didn't even know you could do that. And then they're going to use Primite Fusion's Engrave effect, because it has an Engrave effect, so they can add back the fucking Primate Imperial Dragon back to their hand. And then they're going to use Roar. The Roar effect engrave the Fusion Summon. Okay, that's like... I don't remember the last time I've seen somebody use Roar to Fusion Summon. And I also cannot remember the last time I saw Primate Fusion resolve at all. So this is just some shit that you just never see. And then they're gonna True Light summon back the Blue Eyes. They're trying to go for game. Okay, what they failed to notice is that they cannot kill me from this scenario. They actually can't kill me. As you'll see in a little bit, they're gonna Indigo Eye Silver Dragon to revive the Blue Eyes to have 4K attack. And now they're probably thinking, now they think this is game, right? They're thinking Tyrant Dragon is gonna clear my board, and then they're going to attack with Blue Eyes at plus Indigo for game. But little do they know. So they're going to attack my Garunix, and then they're gonna reset the Majesty, and then they're gonna attack Rimbrum. And that's when they fucked up, because once they put my Rimbrum in graveyard, the Rimbrum summons back the Fallen Valbass. Now this would be great if I wasn't under Maxi, but unfortunately I have to give my opponent 2 more draws. But summoning back the Fallen Velbaz, I can then fuse with their Tyrant Dragon to go into Mirror Jade, and then because I fused away their Tyrant Dragon, now I live. And if you live with Fire King, I'm gonna banish their Blue Eyes, which doesn't even fucking matter because they're playing 3 Blue Eyes. So banishing 1 Blue Eyes does jack shit. But yeah, the Fallen of Velbaz plus the Rimbrum plus the Mirror Jade crucially kept me alive. And if Fire King stays alive for the next turn, then you have all the follow up in the world. So Mirror Jade pops or slept does not really matter because the Garunix is going to come back anyways. Oh, finally I drew my Maxi after I can't use it because I already under Dominance Impulse. But yeah, Garunix pops the field, and then I get to trigger all my Fire King effects in a standby phase. That's important because Imperial Dragon, I can't believe I'm fucking looking up. Wait, why is this in their graveyard? The fuck? Okay, I thought they had Imperial Dragon in their hand still, but Imperial Dragon is a main phase only effect. So doing all this in the standby phase played around the Imperial Dragon and Valor and stuff, but apparently they didn't even have it anymore. Okay, so the True Light is going to summon back the Blue Eyes, which is not going to matter because I'm going to summon back Kieran and then Garunix, and then Garunix is going to activate. They're going to use Majesty, which here I remember Skyburn has an effect to protect, so the Majesty does nothing. They summon back the Maiden. They can't Valor me because this is all in the standby phase. I know they search for Valor, but yeah, I pop the Kieran, summon back Arvada. Arvada pops the True Light, blows up their field. We go into Dingirsu. Dingirsu is going to take their last back row, and they're just going to leave. Yeah, that's right. Now, imagine if with the 2 Maxis they threw at me, imagine if they drew actual good cards in their deck instead of fucking more Primite Fusions and more Primite cards. Game might have been a little bit different, but yeah, that game kind of showed the resilience of Fire King against a deck, as long as you don't get OTK'd. If you, the way this deck loses is that your board is too weak, and then you get OTK'd, and then you have no chance to use your follow-up. But if you have a chance to use your follow-up, you're generally in an okay position. Okay, so this is a game that really pissed me off. So I'm going first for once, and this hand is very good. So I'm going to normal summon Alcanix, and then Alcanix is going to pop Garunix and add a second Garunix to the hand. The way you do this because I could search Pawnex, and Pawnex could search the Skyburn, but I kind of want to play around Droll a little bit. And if I get Drolled on the Alcanix after I search Pawnex, then I can't use Fire King Island, and then I can't trigger the Garunix. So by adding the second Garunix to hand, you play around Droll. So if they draw me here, I still trigger Garunix. Instead they're going to trigger Perulia, which that fucking... By the way. Can we go over what just happened? My opponent chained Perulia to Fire King Garunix. Notably, they did not drop Perulia in the draw phase, like 99% of people are supposed to do. So I played into Perulia just because they held the Perulia, which they also missed a Alcanix draw off the Perulia. Like that's already. And then they're going to summon a second Perulia. So Perulia is the worst Malcharmy to go against because you have to a lot of times summon Garunix from hand. And when you summon Garunix from hand, you give your opponent draws off of fucking Perulia. So now this sucks ass. I'm going to dump Arvada. Arvada is going to summon back my second Garunix. And I'm going to activate Fire King Island now. Fire King Island in Sanctuary. I'm going to pop the Alcanix, add the Kieran to hand, and then the Alcanix is going to... By the way, why the hell are you ashing that? Why did you not ash my Fire King Island? Why did you ash the Alcanix? So that's already like two weird places to hand trap me. So now I'm gonna go Hita, and Hita is gonna add summon back the Ash Blossom, and we're gonna go into Peruvian Princess, and then Peruvian Princess is gonna revive the Arvada. So I summon back the Arvada, and then they're gonna Nibiru me. What is this? What are these timings with the hand traps? Okay, so they're gonna Nibiru me after I summon back Arvada, after I use Peruvian Princess. No attempt to try to Nibiru me on the Peruvian Princess. So I'm gonna trigger Arvada then to try to negate. They're gonna Imperm me. So they must have thought, first of all, even if you had Imperm Nib, why would you just wait and have to use the Imperm? Wouldn't you rather just keep the Imperm and not have to use it? And then also, you knew I added a Kieran to hand, right? Like, you know I have this in hand, right? So I'm going to dodge. I guess what their logic was, I don't know if they were thinking this far ahead, but they were probably thinking, oh, this guy's under Perulia. Let me force them to use the Kirin from their hand to dodge the Imperm so that I get 2 more draws off the Perulia. Which is like, okay, cool, I guess. But also at the same time, the Nib, like I dodged the Imperm, so they draw 2 cards, the Nib gets negated, their Imperm is gone, and then I pop the Kirin, and the Kirin summons back the Arvada. So I get the exact same. Like this is the exact same position we were in before. Okay, instead, like basically instead of having Imperm plus Nib, they use their Imperm and Nib, and they cycle the Imperm and Nib to draw 2 cards. So you get hit by double Perulia, Ash, Imperm. I have a feeling you should be able to stop me from doing more than just get to this point. Like I should not be able to get to Arvada, Promethean Princess if a Garunix engraved through 4 of these hand traps. Like what in the hell was that? And I don't even set the impulse because I'm like, I don't know what I'm playing against. I see double Perulia, my opponent's probably playing board breakers. No, instead they're playing Centur-Ion. When was the last time you guys saw this deck on ladder, by the way? So stand up Centur-Ion is gonna pitch the Nibiru fair, summon back the Dredea, and then they're gonna chain the Wake Up Centur-Ion. I don't know why they chained that, but yeah, they summon 2 bodies on board. Is like, okay, cool. And then they're gonna use Wake Up in Graveyard to send the Phalanx, or send the bots. They're gonna use Dreda's effect, which I'm gonna use Arvada to negate, and I'm gonna send the Promethean Princess finally. Negate the Dredea, that's gonna trigger my Garunix, and then they're gonna call by the Garunix, so yeah, that fucking... Yeah? Okay, awesome. You know, it's to be expected. They did draw like 4 cards off the Perulias, so my Garunix is now gone. Unfortunate. And they're going to use Thrust. Like, what in the hell is this deck list? Wait, Bonds plus Thrust in Centur-Ion? They're gonna add Triple Tactics Talent, and they're gonna Triple Tactics Talent draw 2 cards. Why did you just not take my Arvada? So, and they're gonna draw into Primera, obviously. They're gonna add the Achi. What add Achi, by the way, is crazy. What the hell kind of is that? So they're gonna now Legacia. Their Legacia is going to, because there's Arvadas on the field, they have no chance to OTK me. So that's why I was like, if you just take the Arvada, there's a good chance you could just OTK me. But instead, they just pop the Arvada, so the Arvada is just gonna summon back the Kirin anyways. Then they're gonna fucking max seed me. Like, bro, there's not a single game, there's not a single turn so far where I have not been max seed or double Mulcharming. So now they're gonna attack into my Kirin. And then I'm gonna trigger Kirin, and it's gonna summon back the Arvada, which then I made a mistake, so I popped the Lagash. The only card that you can pop right now, the only card that you can pop is the Centur-Ion Primera. Like right now the Primera is protecting the Lagash from being popped, the Lagash is protecting the Dredea from being popped, and the stand-up Centur-Ion protects itself from being popped. So literally the only card that you could pop in this situation is Primera. But obviously I didn't have that much time to think about it, so I just popped nothing. Fantastic. And then they're gonna end phase, place the Achi from their they place the Achi, they search out the Primera. That is a line I've never seen before. These are new innovative lines that you never see anywhere else in this video. So then I draw my Maxi, I'm like, awesome. Well, now I can finally Maxi my opponent in a standby phase before they summon back all their shit. And now I'm gonna use Fire King Island. And they're gonna chain Emblem of Oath to, I don't know, place the, I think they placed the Phalanx. Yeah, they placed the Phalanx. And I can't use Garunix because it's under Call by the Grave, but I can search Ponix, and I'm going to trigger Arvada to summon back the Kirin. I'm going to trigger Garunix just to chain block, not from Bell, because I know they're probably playing Bell or some shit as well, but I know it can't summon back. And then we're going to special Ponix. Ponix is going to add Skyburn. We're going to enter battle phase, crash the Kirin. Kirin is going to summon back the Alcanix. Alcanix, it's going to pop the Premier. I'm going to trigger Alcanix, pop the Kirin, add another Kirin to hand, or pop the Ponix, add a Kirin to hand, trigger Kirin, pop the Alcanix, trigger the Alcanix finally to summon back the other Alcanix from deck, and then I'm going to make a fucking Hyang. I had to think for a hot minute, because like, I tried playing Fire King without Garunix access. It's really fucking hard to play. Like, I had no idea what the line I was supposed to do there. So eventually, this line I found got me to 2 level 8s, so I can make a Hyang. And Hyang is going to pop the board because the Primera is finally not protecting it anymore. Then I'm going to pop the Atri. They didn't special summon them because they're under max C, so it's fair. So I didn't actually draw off the max C, but it did stop them from trying to gain more advantage. So this is actually a good position now. Skyburn plus Hyung. I have Garunix live next turn because it's no longer a call by, and I'm thinking I'm good. The only problem is that I had like 30 seconds on my timer at this point, so I couldn't really do all that I wanted because I had to play on my opponent's turn. They're gonna set. I'm gonna use Skyburn. Skyburn's gonna pop the stand up. They're gonna chain the Phalanx, which I'm going to then chain the Dominus Impulse because, fun fact, you can fucking Dominus Impulse the Phalanx effect to banish because it contains an effect of special summon. So yeah, then we pop our stand up. It's gonna trigger my Garunix and my Hyung, so I get to summon back 3 Fire King monsters. Yeah, we summon back Kirin, we summon back Garunix, and we pop the Kirin to summon back the Arvada, and then I'm gonna trigger Ponex, and now I get another search, and I'm feeling really good about myself. So now I'm gonna go pop the set Fool Loss, by the way. A third Marcharmy has hit the field. A third Marcharmy has hit the grave, and I trigger another Skyburn. Now I just have to ODK my opponent, and I'm here I mess up. So here I go into Sign Wolf, and then I use Fire King Island to pop the Ponix. That will trigger the Garunix, so I special summon the Garunix back. And then the Garunix is going to trigger, then the Ponix, the Sign Wolf is going to trigger, the Sign Wolf is going to add back the Ponix for some. Why did I do that? So then I pop the Arvada. Arvada is going to summon back the Kirin, and then they're gonna, now that everything is clear, they're gonna finally Fool Us me. That was again, these timings on the hand traps are just so weird. Fool Us me now, but okay. So this is still game on board, or this is not game on board. This is actually not game on board. I fluffed it. I fluffed the game on board because I'm like, bro, you have 2 cards in hand, and you're playing Centur-Ion. Like, why do I even have to bother like thinking so hard? Like, I was low on timer anyways, and then they're gonna special summon the Druid's Worm, which is like, okay, that's gonna trigger my Promethean Princess to pop the Kirin, and the Kirin's gonna summon back, and they're gonna use the Druid's Worm to send the Promethean Princess. So yeah, we summon back the Arvada. They're gonna then use Phalanx and Graveyard to summon back the Legacia, which then the Legacia is gonna draw, and then it's gonna try to activate the effect. I'm gonna negate it, so the Legacia then doesn't draw, doesn't pop, but I pop my own Garunix, and then I can't pop this Legacia because this Legacia is fucking, I can't run it over because it protects itself from battle because it's at 2k. And then the Legacia summons back the Premier, and I'm like, okay, but we're gonna play this game. We're gonna fucking just continue this long ass futile grind game. So they're gonna summon back the Primera, use the Primera effect, which I'm gonna negate with the Arvada. Like, I don't know what they thought was gonna happen. And then the Arvada, I'm gonna pop the Kirin from hand, trigger the Kirin, and trigger Garunix, summon back the Garunix, summon the Kirin, summons back the other Garunix, gonna pop, finally, the fucking pop the Legacia, add the Kirin back to hand, they're gonna normal summon Fool Loss to go into Premier Prime, and so I'm gonna Promethean Princess to Premier Primus now, they're gonna add the Oath to hand, and then the Fire King Garunix is gonna summon back the Alchemist, they're gonna use Oath to add stand up, they're still going for it, they're still trying, how many fucking Ball Charmies? They drew like 4 fucking Ball Charmies that game. Summon back the Treya, and like, I'm gonna trigger Hyung finally, pop the Treya, get that shit out of here. They're gonna summon back the Premier Primus. Finally, it's over. All they have is a Premier Primus left. We can just normal summon Fire King Ponix. It's finally over. We can just pop the fucking Premier Primus, and then yeah. That game was like, that game lasted 4 turns longer than it should have. Mainly because I'm fucking trash at this game, and on my timer I couldn't do anything under low timer. So, yeah, that was also frustrating because I mean, you try getting hand chat 4 times on 1 turn, and then having to play through all that shit. But yeah. So here we're playing a game where we're going first versus I'm him. Because, I mean, God, look at the hand that he managed to draw. So I'm going to activate Fire King Island, and I'm going to, or Sanctuary to add Island. I'm going to use Fire King Island first. You could also normal summon Alcanix. It actually does not really matter either way. As long as you add Garunix with your first add, either off of Garunix, either off of the Alcanix or off of Fire King Island, you get to play around roll. So that's what I was going to do, but I get ashed. So, you know, kind of sucks. So I do have a second way to get access to Garunix now. So I am going to normal summon Alcanix, and my Alcanix gets Fool Lost, which I Ash the Fool Lost because I'm like I have 2 Ashes in my hand. I'm fine, then I get Imperm. So yeah, you know, cool. Like fuck me, I guess. Like my bad. I did not play around. I didn't play around Ash Imperm plus Fua. My bad. I should have not. I should have just not Ashed Fua. If I didn't Ash the Fua, there was no way they're gonna Imperm my Alcanix. So then I would have had Garunix at the very least. Instead, they just used 3 hand traps, and now I have to rely on Impulse plus Ash, which my opponent normal summons Girsu, which okay, so normal summon Girsu fucking sucks ass for me in my position, but fortunately I do have 2 good hand traps versus Orcust at least. They hard draw the Babble, so haha, you drew a brick. They're gonna use Girsu's effect to make a token, and then use the Galatea to pitch the Call by the Grave, which is crazy, by the way, right? Like, are you pitching Call by the Grave knowing you're playing against Fire King? But okay, whatever. They're gonna add the World Legacy Crown. They're gonna use a Harp, which here I'm going to Ash the Harp Order because you know, maybe I don't want him to get access to Symbol Skeleton for like the Dingirsu and so on and so forth. They're gonna go into Galatea. Galatea is gonna shuffle back the Harp, which is fine. They're gonna set their counter trap, and then they're gonna go into Dingirsu. Dingirsu is going to send my Fire King Island, which is Fire King Island. I don't know why you did that, because like that doesn't do anything. Like all that does is let me summon back my. You pop my Fire King Island to summon back my Garunix. I guess it's fine because I don't have access to Garunix. So if they send my Fire King Island, I suppose their logic is that I don't have access to my Fire King engine. But I guarantee you that's not how they think, because look what happens next. So they're going to use Girsu. They're going to summon back the Galatea, which I'm going to Impulse because if they summon that back, they have enough bodies to like potentially go for an in-lieu Girsu play, but instead I'm just gonna put them on 2 bodies, and then they also play the Fiendsmith engine because, you know, why wouldn't you play Fiendsmith in this deck? Like why wouldn't you? They're gonna summon Lacrima now. Now I'm like summon back the Engraver, and Engraver puts back the Moon, and then they're going to link off into sequence. I tell you right now, if they equipped Requiem on the Engraver and sent my Fire King High Avatar Garunix, they would have won the game. Because then this doesn't get destroyed. But look what they do. Look what they do, okay? They shuffle back into Lacrima. Lacrima adds Engraver to hand. They're trying to be a little greedy here. Engraver, add Tract. And then Tract, add discard Lurry, special back to Lurry, and then they're going to go into Nightmare Phoenix because I don't know why they went to the Nightmare Phoenix. Did they forget that they didn't have a card in hand? So yeah, my guy is him. He is him because he found the only way that you could lose in this position, which is attack over my Fire King. I just want to like point out what happened, okay? My opponent had full Fiendsmith lines and decided to attack over my Garunix with a Nightmare Phoenix. So, in case you didn't know, Fire King High Avatar Garunix has an effect where if it's destroyed by battle, I can special summon a Fire King monster from my deck. So, we're gonna summon Garunix, and Garunix is gonna send Kieran, and then Kieran is gonna summon back the Alcanix. I'm gonna pop the Babble, which I can't add back to hand because I have no cards in hand. I'm gonna pop the Garunix, special summon the Ponix. Ponix effect, add a second Sanctuary to hand. Yeah, my guy is him. He found a way to lose a literally unlosable game. I got all that because they decided to not read Fire King Avatar Garunix. And then I can even summon the Garunix back because I didn't actually use his effect to special summon itself back. So I get a free body for free. Then they're going to go into SP, and they're going to go into SP, and they're going to banish my Garunix, which is like, that's fine. Thankfully for me, I'm playing Pure. Well, I'm playing Pure. I'm playing Brand Fire King, but I'm not playing Snake Eyes Fire King. So I run multiple Garunics, so that's fine. That's completely fine. And then we top deck into Fallen of Albaz. This is so clutch because I'm gonna normal summon this Fallen of Albaz, which is 1800 attack, and it's gonna attack over those SP Little Knight. I'm gonna attack with Podex, and I'm gonna use Fire King Sanctuary. Fire King Sanctuary place Fire King Island, pop Podex, add a second Garunix to my hand, special Garunix. Garunix, pop Arvada summon back the what's it called, the other Garunix. So I don't actually pop this back row because if you were paying attention, this back row is the counter trap. It's Crescendo. I don't actually want Crescendo in Graveyard because they don't actually have Orcust engine right now. So if I pop the Crescendo, they can banish it and then they can add cards to hand. So instead, I just leave this Crescendo uselessly on the field. Then I'm gonna go into Hita. I'm gonna go Hita, take their Nightmare Phoenix. I'm gonna go into SP Little Knight. I'm gonna SP Little Knight and I'm gonna banish the Galatea from their graveyards for that form of follow-up. Then I'm going to make Peruvian Princess, revive Arvada, and this is the end board. So we're going to have Arvada, Peruvian Princess, Sanctuary, plus full Fire King setup in the graveyard, plus the Fallen of Albaz, which my opponent was probably wondering, why the fuck is Fallen of Albaz in your deck? Is it specifically to run over SP Little Knight without activating its effect? Yes. In this scenario, yes. So now the Fire King Ponyx comes back to my hand. I'm feeling good. They're gonna go Engraver, summon back, special Engraver, and then they're gonna go into Requiem, and I'm like, okay, so what could they possibly have drawn? Okay, I'm gonna use Arvada, and we're gonna pop the Peruvian Princess to put in Graveyard, and then that's gonna trigger Garunix. I'm gonna use Garunix to dump the Kieran, and the Kieran is gonna trigger, and I'm gonna trigger Ponix as well. I do this is because I don't have another way to actually I probably should have waited. I probably shouldn't have triggered Garunix. I probably should have waited until because I could pop Arvada with Promethean Princess, and then that could trigger my Garunix. So I still had another way to trigger Garunix. So I could have waited on this. I could possibly just not summon it right there. And the Kieran summons back the Alcans. I still don't pop the back row because I don't want them to get the Crescendo in Graveyard. So now I'm gonna add a Skyburn to hand, and I'm gonna Alcans pop the Ponyx, then add a Kieran to hand. And they're going to use Cryptotic Talent to draw 2 cards, okay? Let's see what they draw, okay? Let's see their draws. Foolish Burial, dump Harp Horror effect, summon Symbol Skeleton, normal summon Gearsuit. Fucking Yugi Moto over here. No wonder he's him. Tactics, draw Foolish Burial plus Gearsuit. Literally the 2 best cards in their deck at that point. So now they're going to use World Wand, and they're going to special summon back the Galatea. And here, they're going to summon Longears. So I could have, at any point, I don't think I used Kieran's effect, right? So I could have used Kieran to pop, or, no, I don't know why I didn't do that. Why didn't I? Okay, that's weird. Yeah, I misplayed. So because they had Crescendo face down, at the moment they summoned their Galatea, it was over because then they could negate my Fire King Sanctuary with Crescendo. I'm pretty sure Crescendo can negate already face-up cards, right? When a spell trap card or monster effect is activated. Or when a spell trap card or monster effect is activated while you control it, you can banish. Oh, wait. Crescendo can't negate Sanctuary? Huh. If I'm reading this correctly. That's, wait, why the fuck does it not? Jesus Christ. Master Duel. It appears that Crescendo cannot negate and activate. I mean, it doesn't matter because they would just negate Young anyways. Like it really did not matter. They could negate me anyways. But yeah, I just slow rolled it. I don't even bother using Sanctuary because my opponent, it would make the Crescendo alive. So yeah, they're gonna use Long Gearsuit, target the Alcanics, which I'm gonna chain Kieran to pop the Alcanics so it doesn't get sent, and then they're gonna summon back the Galatea, which is like it's whatever at this point because they already used their Gearsuit, and I'm gonna use Promethean Princess. They're gonna use Crescendo, which is really annoying because the Promethean Princess gets negated, but now because it's a counter trap, the summon window is over. So now I can't also trigger fucking Fire King Sanctuary, even though like I had 2 ways to respond to their special summon. The fucking counter trap negated negated the entire summon window, so then I couldn't fucking trigger my Sanctuary to make a Hyang. So that kind of sucked. But they are going to Inlo Girsu, and they're just going to attack into my Arvada, which is like fine. Arvada is just going to summon back another Kirin. And yeah, they can take whatever they want. Like they didn't even bother taking any of my monsters. I don't know why they didn't do that. But yeah, they clearly have nothing. So they're going to use Crescendo to add a series to hand, which is like, okay, cool, whatever. Ponyx add the Ponyx back. And they don't have Babble. So like, they actually just don't have shit. I don't know if they forgot they didn't have Babble or something. Maybe they should have used Inlo Girsu to, you know, add a card to their hand so they can reset the Babble or something. I don't know why they didn't reset the Babble. Like, I'm reading this right. You can send a card to the graveyard to reset it. Why didn't they do that? But anyways, they're gonna lose the fucking double Ponyx over here. Pop the Alcan. They're gonna pop the Inlo Girsu and then summon back the big Runix. Gonna go into Sonic Wolf. I don't know why I did all this. My opponent's at like 73. They weren't at 8k. So yeah. Yeah, that's fucking snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. So every Fire King player knows that you have to win games like this with this hand right here. Hey, this hand is what I refer to as Arvada control, because you didn't open a starter because this deck doesn't have the most starters in the game. So we're gonna normal summon Arvada, set Skyburn, and then pass. Thankfully, I also drew a Grunix, so it's not the worst. Though the worst is when you open Arvada plus Kirin. Then you don't even have Fire King engine. Then you're just playing straight up raw dogging Arvada, which never works. But Arvada plus Kirin, that's more doable. So I can't trigger Kirin, but I do have ways. I can't trigger Kirin on my turn, but I do have ways to trigger on my opponent's turn. And my opponent's gonna add Fractal, discard Fractal, send Silverhound, and like you ash the. I decided I was contemplating between ashing the Silverhound or using Arvada on the Silverhound, because Ash generally, like, that's the best Ash target in Lunalight as well, but seeing as how they haven't used anything yet, maybe there's something else I wanted to Ash, so I kept the Ash in hand and then I just popped the Grunix to get into the graveyard. Then they're gonna normal summon Goleo. Goleo is gonna add the Martin, and then they're gonna Martin discard the Martin. Martin adds the Masquerade. It's gonna activate Masquerade. I'm gonna change Skyburn on the activation of Masquerade to pop the Garunix, or pop the Arvada, sorry, pop the Masquerade, and then the Garunix is going to trigger, so the Garunix is going to get called by, but thankfully I fucking run Lancia because Malice is in this format, so thank you for protecting me from a call by the grave, Lancia. That definitely, that Lancia unironically won me the game, because Lancia is also very good against Lunalight. If you didn't know, Lunalight banishes a shit ton from graveyard, or not a shit ton, but they do banish cards from graveyard, but not under Lancia. And then the Garunix comes back, the Garunix pops the Kirin, and the Kirin is going to summon back the Arvada, and we're going to pop the Goleo. And now they're going to use Lunalight Perfume to summon back the Goleo, but because they're under Lancia, they can't banish the Lunalight Perfume to search, so then they're going to special summon Black. They're going to activate Black Sheep, and I'm going to... This was maybe a misplay, so I'm going to Ash the Black Sheep, but here's the problem with ashing the Black Sheep. They're going to just add the Black Sheep back to hand, and then because this is fucking Lunalight, and here's something you should know, Lunalight monsters are never once per turn. They're just never hard once per turn, so they can just discard the fucking same Black Sheep again to add a poly. So yeah, that Ash did absolutely jack diddly squat, and now they're gonna fuse. But thankfully, they can't make a Liger Dancer because they don't have the materials. They're gonna make a Perfume Dancer, and Perfume Dancer is gonna attack over the Arvada, which is like, okay, Arvada. I mean, I summoned back the Kirin, but that doesn't do anything because the Kirin is going to just die in the end phase. So yeah, we're playing Garunix control versus Perfume Dancer control. I have to top deck something. Thankfully, I top deck. If I didn't top deck a Fire King Sara, we would have still lost. Like that's the problem with Arvada control. You don't get any follow up when you play Arvada control, so you have to survive then hope you top deck something. It's really not the ideal situation, but we do top deck something. So I'm going to pop the Garunix, add the Ponyx to hand, special summon the Ponyx, and then Ponyx is going to add a Skyburn. Then we're going to enter battle phase, attack into the Perfume Dancer. That's going to trigger the Garunix, so Garunix is going to summon back. Garunix then is going to pop Alcanix. Alcanix is going to summon back the... it's going to summon the other Garunix. I'm going to attack over the Perfume Dancer. Main phase 2, we're going to link into Hita, is going to take their Fractal, thank you for putting the Fire Monster in the graveyard. We're going to go into Meridian Princess, Revive Arvada, and yeah. Thankfully, thankfully, we could have easily lost those last 2 games if we were slightly less lucky and our opponent played slightly better. But that's the thing with Fire King. Lots of people aren't used to playing against Fire King because the deck hasn't been meta in like a year, so they tend to misplay a little bit when they play against this deck. So yeah, is this deck the best deck in the game or anything? No, not even close. Is this like the best way to play Fire King? No. Jirak is probably better. Snake Eyes is probably better. But you know, if you are a branded fan, or if you just want to play something like wacky, like fucking stuff that I guarantee your opponent has never seen before, this is one of those decks, and like hopefully it'll get better because Fire King is actually terrible against Malice, which thankfully Malice is probably going to be phased out a little bit, and depending on the new decks in the new pack, low-key Fire King doesn't have the worst matchup against potentially upcoming new decks, which I will not mention in this video because I don't want to get banned by Konami. Because if you're watching this, John Konami, I don't know any leagues. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what deck's coming up next. But yeah, just so wait for it then. And yeah, if you have the cards for this, give it a try. If you're a fan of Fire King, and if you're a fan of probably if you're a fan of Branded, you probably don't want to play this because this is like making a mockery of the Branded engine. But yeah, I guarantee not anyone you play against is gonna see the Branded engine in Fire King. So yeah, thanks for watching.